Hi there! In this video, we will be discussing how to design qualitative research by exploring the different types of data that can be used, the best analytical methods, and the optimal sample size for each type of data. Understanding and perceptions. To start, let's look at understanding and perceptions. In qualitative research, understanding and perceptions can be obtained through various data collection methods, such as in-depth interviews, focus groups, or online surveys. In the context of Valorant, we can survey players to understand their perceptions of the game's characters, maps, and weapons. Types of data: online surveys, in-depth interviews, focus groups. Best analytical method: thematic analysis, content analysis. Optimal sample size: depending on the research question and goals, a sample size of 10. 20 participants may be sufficient for in-depth interviews or focus groups, as these methods allow for more in-depth and personal conversations with participants. Thematic analysis and content analysis can be applied to the data collected from these methods to identify patterns and themes in the data. For online surveys, a larger sample size of 200 participants may be needed to ensure a representative sample and to increase the accuracy of the results. Practice and accounts of practice. Next, let's talk about practice and accounts of practice. This type of data can be collected through observations, field notes, or audio and video recordings. In the context of Valorant, we can observe players during a match and take notes on their strategies and tactics to gain an understanding of their practices. Types of data: observations, field notes, audio and video recordings. Best analytical method: ethnography, case study analysis. Optimal sample size. The sample size for this type of data collection may vary based on the duration of the observations and the number of participants being observed. Observations and field notes allow researchers to capture the behavior and actions of participants in their natural setting, while audio and video recordings provide a more in-depth and complete picture of the practices. Ethnography and case study analysis can be applied to the data collected from these methods to understand the cultural and social factors that influence the practices. A sample size of 10 participants observed over multiple matches may provide enough data for analysis. Influencing factors. Third, let's consider influencing factors. This type of data can be collected through document analysis, content analysis, or historical research. In the context of Valorant, we can analyze player forums to understand the factors that influence players' decisions and experiences with the game. Types of data: document analysis, content analysis, historical research. Best analytical method: content analysis, historical research. Optimal sample size. The sample size for this type of data collection may vary based on the amount of data being analyzed. Document analysis and content analysis can be applied to the data collected from player forums to identify patterns and themes in the data, while historical research allows researchers to understand the context and background of the data. A sample size of 200 player forum posts or threads may be sufficient for analysis. When examining construction in Valorant, observation, ethnography, and case studies can be used. Ethnography involves studying a culture or group of people to gain insight into their beliefs, practices, and social norms, while a case study focuses on a single individual or group to understand their experiences. For example, a researcher could conduct an ethnography of the game's virtual environment to understand how players construct their identities and interact with each other. In this case, the best analytical methods to use would be ethnography and case study analysis. The optimal sample size would depend on the duration of the observations and the number of participants being observed, but a sample size of 10 participants observed over multiple matches may provide enough data for analysis. Finally, to examine language practice in Valorant, discourse analysis, critical discourse analysis, or conversation analysis can be used. Discourse analysis and critical discourse analysis focus on the language used in communication to understand the power dynamics and beliefs involved, while conversation analysis involves looking at how people interact through language in a specific context. For example, a researcher could analyze player chat logs to understand how players use language to communicate and coordinate during matches. In this case, the best analytical methods to use would be discourse analysis, critical discourse analysis, and conversation analysis. The optimal sample size would depend on the amount of data being analyzed, but a sample size of 100, 200 player chat logs may be sufficient for analysis. In conclusion, qualitative research is a powerful tool for exploring and understanding different aspects of a particular context, such as the experiences, perceptions, practices, construction, and language use of individuals. By selecting the appropriate data collection methods, analytical methods, and sample size, researchers can design studies that produce rich and meaningful insights. Thank you for watching.